Hi, come on in.
And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on?
Hi, Katie.
Hi,
I am so excited. This is going to be a great podcast, especially for everyone listening. If you saw the title of it already, which I have not determined as to what it's going to be called yet.
The shit's getting real.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it. Shit's getting real because that's what we're going to be talking about, a lot of shit. So
yes, yeah.
Yay. Well, before we get
than you'd ever thought before you had kids. Yep.
Yeah, it's like my whole life revolves around poop. So before we get into that, the fun poop talk, I want you to introduce yourself and tell everyone about you.
Well, I am Katie. I am a mom of 3 boys. Hard to believe. I always thought I'd have a girl, but I have 3 boys. They are 8, 5, and just turned 3.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I have made a living now of potty training, which blows my mind because 8 years ago, that would have never crossed my mind.
Yeah. I love that. And that's how I found you. I found you on TikTok. And I don't know exactly. I forget the details as to how I found you, but I remember looking through your stuff and I was like, this is exactly what so many moms need. Yes. And I didn't even know that you could, I mean, it makes sense. There's like sleep consultants. There's people that help with that. Like, why not get someone that can come in and help you figure out one of the most challenging things,
the worst
in parenting. Like it is stressful.
Yeah. I asked my husband, I was like, what was worse, sleep training or potty training? And it's like, it's a toss up.
Okay.
They both like can bring out so much stress and so much feeling of failure as a mom when things are not going well. When I started my TikTok account, I was like, I'm just going to go on and we'll see how it does. I don't know. I honestly didn't even know what TikTok really was. I thought it was, college girls dancing.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll just put up some stuff about potty training. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And TikTok's great because like you take off a lot faster than Instagram. It's like crickets over on Instagram and TikTok. I was like, oh my gosh. But I was blown away by how many parents are like, I don't know how, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. Why is he doing this? Like so many parents were like screaming out for help. And I'm like, there is no help. Like there's a handful of books.
Yeah.
And, a few resources online and blog posts, but to have someone to talk to and like to let you know you're not alone and this is not, it doesn't have to be awful.
Yeah.
That like blew my mind.
Well, and I think I know for us, so my kids are 5. She just recently turned 5, 3, my son's 3, and then my youngest is 10 months old. So we're in it, but we have 2 kids that are potty trained. My son started potty training back in May, but with my first, that was the first kid that we ever had to go through the potty training thing with. And it was during COVID that all of that happened.
Well, at least you were home.
I was home, but that's what happened was during, I think it was April after COVID had hit.
Okay.
So it was fresh, but everyone and their mother was potty training because everyone was home and everyone was taking it as the opportunity to just knock it out. And so I think my daughter at the time was 2.5. Yeah, she was 2.5, close to 2.5. Not even there yet. And I was like, okay, let's try it. And it was a disaster. It literally was a disaster where then I was getting frustrated because I thought something was wrong and that I was doing something wrong. And I remember just having like just a meltdown, like of like a parenting failure meltdown. And my husband's like, I was like, I'm doing it wrong. We're doing it wrong. Something's wrong with her. Something's wrong with me. Everyone else is getting this down, but why are we not? Like, what's happening? And then we waited. And I kind of said, screw it, whatever. And we waited. And I think it was Labor Day after that happened. So September, 6 more months had gone by and, or almost 6 months. Yeah. 6 more months went by and then she started and it took 3 days and it was perfect. And it was so easy. So I like learned a ton from that experience of being like, it's, she was just, I think she probably was ready. I don't think I was ready.
100%. Oh my gosh. That is so spot on.
Yeah.
Like I tell so many clients, I'm like, just trust your instinct. Cause most of the time when I'm talking to them, they're like, oh, well, I think this is the issue. And I'm like, bingo. Yes, you're right. But it's so hard as a mom to trust your instincts when you have all these messages coming in from everyone else. Like, oh, I did it this way and my daughter did this. And you're like, what's wrong with me? Yeah. I mean, your experience was mine to a T, like with my first son. It was a nightmare. Like I thought I was prepared. I mean, I feel like everything in motherhood, I thought I was prepared and then it comes and it's like, oh, you're having a C-section? That's not what I planned, everything.
Oh yeah. I'm a C-section mom too. So yes, I can agree on that one.
Yes, yeah. That was my first. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like I've got birthing hips. Like I got to birth this baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, it was really hard for me the first time. And then having that feeling of like, if he's not getting it, there's something wrong with me. And then there's something wrong with my kid. And
well, and I think that was probably my issue in it was my daughter's speech delayed. And right at that time, it was a few months prior that she was diagnosed with the speech delay. Mm-hmm. And so she was receiving services. So that was still so fresh. And if I don't know if you have any children with the developmental delay of any sort, but when you do, it's a major hit against you as a parent. It's a pride thing where it comes off, and I got my child help and stuff like that, but you still can't double guess yourself or second guess yourself where you're like, did I do this?
Oh,
did
100%.
I do something wrong? So now when this potty training wasn't happening, I was like, another thing that we're delayed on. What did I do wrong? Like what happened? And you can't help but do that. So I think that's what I needed to digest was figuring that I didn't do anything wrong, that this is just something that it's one of those things where my kids have always kind of led the way, but I think it was not because of them being ready. Like I said, I think it was just me allowing them to lead the way. So it was my readiness allowed for them to steer the boat.
Well, this is what saved me. So my oldest son, it was months of pooping his pants and it drove me crazy because it was always at the park or the very tippy top of the slide. I was like, oh my God, he's having an accident again. Oh my God. Yeah. So one day we were in my friend's backyard and my best friend and I, we shared everything, help me. We were playing in her backyard, and he had another poop accident and I just lost it.
Yeah.
And, I'm cleaning him up, taking him to the bathroom, poop goes in the potty. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And she looked over at me and she's like, Kate, don't worry about it. Everyone burns their first pancake. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah. I don't have to get it right the first time. It's okay. We're all learning. We're all learning.
I love that.
So then I had a second and a third and it's gone much better.
Yeah. Well, and that was my son. So my son, he was trying to think, he turned 3 in September. So this was May before then. So 2 years old, a little over 2.5. And he, on Mother's Day, it was on Mother's Day. I'll always remember that he all of a sudden showed interest in going on the potty, and we were home. It was in the morning. It was before we did anything for Mother's Day. And I was like, let's just go downstairs. I have the little training potty. Let me just put it in the kitchen. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you want to sit on it? And he went and he sat and he just kept going over and sitting on it, not doing anything until he eventually peed. And I was like, we're doing it. And Kev was like, you want to start today? And I was like, yep, let's go. Bye. Diapers were gone. And I was like, we're doing this full Monty. And we did. And he thankfully, I think, poop was actually pretty easy. Knock on wood with my third, but poop for both of my kids actually came not too terrible. We haven't struggled too far. I know with my daughter, she had I knew the day she did. She ended up pooping in her cozy coupe little car.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that she was going to, because she was very about privacy and things like that. And I was like, oh, yes. Yeah, that's going on. Same with my son. I think my son was pooping a little bit in his diaper. I think he wanted us to put a diaper back on. I think that was what was going on. I'm forgetting at this
big
point.
Sign. If they ask for a diaper, you're like, oh, you have to go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we did that. But the only thing that with my son, he's, 3 and however old he is now, whatever, I don't keep track, but he's over 3. We are 98% there. But we still have like, even now, like he's in pants. My kids hardly wear pants, but he's never.
Mine were naked yesterday. I was like, what the God?
Yeah. He never has pants on. He has undies on, but he never has pants on. It's because it's easier for us just to get his undies down because he waits too long. He does not want to be interrupted from playing to go to the bathroom, and he'll go eventually, but he, leaks out a little bit.
Hold it forever. Yes.
Forever. And then of course a little bit leaks and you're like, and come on, man. And that,
like, this.
Yeah.
Well, that's why when people say, oh, it'll take 3 days and you're done. You're like, no, actually, like you'll get a lot done in 3 days and some kids do really well, but you're still constantly thinking about poop and pee for like the next 6 months to a year. Like, hey, we're leaving the house. I got to get my kid to the bathroom before we leave. Like they're not old enough to say, I'm going to be in the car for an hour. I should go to the bathroom before I leave. Like you're still thinking about it. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you have to like, even them trying to force, like they don't really even understand with trying to like make themselves pee. Like they don't really understand that. So that's always interesting. And to be honest, and this was something that I've said to my friends, like a very honest thing with having a third, because my daughter's, at the time she was 3 months old when he decided to start potty training, which was fine. And then summer came, and I think we're a little bit slower on really nailing it completely home with him because I have a third baby. It's not like with my first, when she was, the first in potty training and I only had the two of them. If she announced in the car that I have to go potty, that was easy for me to pull over and find a potty. Yeah. With the three of them, and I have to load everyone out, get her in a stroller or put her on me. It was just easier for me to put them in a pull-up and say, like, we were in a car ride once and we were stuck in traffic. And I was like, just go in your pull-up. Like, I was like, I know that I am kind of letting this go. And it's because I have a third where I'm like, I know it's me. Like, again, it's all boils down to me.
The best part is like, you're honest about it and you can be like, yeah, cool. That's fine. Like I finally got to the point in motherhood where I'm like, I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m. to work out because I'm freaking tired.
Yeah.
Like, have I lost my baby weight yet? No. And my son's 3 years old, but it feels so good to finally sleep and not be like, I got to get up at 5. I got to work out. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm okay with myself right now.
Well, yeah, it's like ownership in like what you're doing. Like, I know that there's like, you're not going to get everything perfect. It's the choosing your battles decision. Like that is such I know my mom always used to say that to me. She was, Mary, you pick your battles. You always do. And you really do. And I think we stress so much about getting it perfect. And I think it's the stress portion that is going to make the negative impact happen and not necessarily the action. It's the stressing over the actions itself. Because I mean, my son wears a pull-up and he, if he wears a pull-up for whatever long, if I stress about it and make it a negative thing, eventually that's going to become a negative thing to him. But if I make it like a nonchalant thing, eventually he's going to get it. He'll get it. And it's no big deal.
Like so many parents, I tell them, I'm like, the hardest part of potty training is just staying calm and like being chill about it. Like not thinking about it, not like, hey, my oldest son, I was like, do you have to go poop? It looks like you have to go poop. Wait, are you pooping? What are you doing? And he was like, Mom, like lay off of me. And I think my anxiety around how it was going just totally messed him up. So with my third, it was like, all right, well, there's the potty when you need to go. I'll help you if you need it. And then we just went about our day. And like, of course I'm watching him like a hawk and like, doing what I needed to do, but I didn't like make it this huge thing that stressed him out.
Yeah. Well, and that was the difference between like my daughter's first attempt versus the second was me just being like laid back. And I was like, whatever happens, happens. And same with my son. I was like, let's just do it. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Like,
they have an accident and you clean their pants. Like, I remember thinking, oh my God, if he has an accident, other moms are going to see, like, I have to change his pants. And I'm like, they've all done that too. Like, why does it matter if he has an accident while we're out? Yeah, I have to clean his pants and it's kind of a mess, but it's not the end of the world. No. Like I started just saying when I put him in his car seat, I would say, okay, keep your seat dry. And in my head, I was like, if he has an accident, it's fine. Like,
well, and I think a big thing cause I know like so on Instagram, when I do Instagram, I used to do it. I don't do it as much anymore because my account has gotten thankfully to a point where it's too big. I can't do it. What'd you say?
Do you get warnings on Instagram or?
Well, no. I get a little, I get dinged sometimes, but not too bad.
I got dinged on TikTok. I got like put in the violation section. I think I had a picture of my son. It might be he wasn't wearing a shirt And I'm thinking that's what it was. I don't know.
Yeah, they did that to me on TikTok over I did an ad for Dr. Brown's baby bath toys or something. And I put it up and I made sure my daughter was like, obviously it's on social media covered, but
I had
beginning,
like a photography picture of him. And I was
it was, and I think what dinged me, and I went back in cause they took it down and then I re-uploaded it, but I went and I just explained to the company cause it was covered. You only saw up here. You didn't even see like nipple or anything. You just saw collarbone up on her, but there was the beginning of the video was me holding her, walking into the bathroom, and she didn't have a shirt on, but she had pants. And I didn't think anything of it because I've had videos of her just in a diaper on my hip.
Yeah.
And they dinged me for that. And I think that's why. So I went back in and out of like pixels and stuff like that. But on Instagram, I used to do a day where I would have, it was be on Mondays, and it was mom, I think I called it like Monday chats. And I essentially used to like put a question box up on Instagram for anyone to submit a question in that I would then share to my followers for my followers to answer. And then I would send all of those replies to that person that asked. So it would always stay anonymous, but they would always get support. I ended up stopping it because it got too insane where I was like, I can't have all these questions answered because there was just so many.
And we're all struggling. We all have questions.
Oh yeah. And then I stopped because some advice was not helpful. It was more harmful than it was helpful. It was like, I don't want ever a mom to come to this page or hear anything that's like going to make them second guess themselves because everyone's doing the best they can. But a lot of it was always potty training and saying like, I'm afraid that my kids aren't potty trained on time, or my son is so-and-so, however old, and I feel like he's behind on this, or I see other kids doing this and my kid's not. And it's comparison that is like rocking every parent's boat.
Yes.
So much.
And there's that like window of time, like, oh, if you don't potty train by this time, like you've missed the window. And it's like, no, you haven't. Like they're going to get potty trained.
Yeah.
It might look different than if you had started at 18 months, which is a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't miss a window. You're still going to get it done when it needs to get done.
Well,
it's so about when you are ready. Like you can't commit to it if you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't want to try it. Like I was pregnant with my third when my second was ready. And that pregnancy was exhausting.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I should do this before the baby comes. I should do this. But I was like, I cannot.
Well, no, it was always easier for me
while I'm pregnant. I'll wait till I have a little baby.
Same. That's how it was with Spencer, our son, because I was like,
it's too much.
It's easier to have him in a diaper, to be honest. It is like, it's a mess, but it is easier because you know that while you have your breastfeeding or feeding your baby or whatever, you're stuck somewhere, in some position, and you can't move. And it's easier knowing that when they all of a sudden yell out, I got to poop, you're not running with, for me, I always had a boob out.
Like, you're running through the house. Like their bowels dictate your day. Like,
I was like, I'm not in any position. Just poop in your diaper, man. We'll handle it in a second. But I think that's the biggest thing that rocks everyone's boat, where I'm like, it's fine. Like you got to just wait on things. Don't compare your kids, because
the comparison thing, like, ruined my first year of motherhood. Like it was completely so hard for me.
Same.
I was like, my kid's not sleeping. Well, actually he was an infant and that's normal infant sleep. But I was like, but my friend's kid will nap for 3 hours. Mine napped for 20 and I'm so tired. Like,
I don't know. Well, and that's the thing. And I mean, even like I have like, you share anything, even on Instagram, I'll get like questions about like, how do you get this, so-and-so this? And I was like, I don't know. And I had someone ask, how do you handle comparison? I said, having more than one kid. Like that was probably the thing that nailed it home for me to stop doing it, was because I have my first, who had a speech delay and made, had a speech delay and had different things going on. And then I had my son, who was talking by 11 months old and had a few words by 11 months, and I didn't do anything different. I did not do, if anything, he was like, probably the second fiddle while I was dealing with the first. And I was like, all of these things. And then, I have, my son was an excellent sleeper. My daughter was not. Like, there were so many things where I was like, you figure it out because you see that your own kids that came out of your body
are so different. Oh my God. Mine could not be more different. Like they are. And I do the exact same thing with them. And yep, they are their own little person.
Well, and that's why with potty training, I think that's important to note. That's why I think like, for having someone like you I imagine with when you work with the family, you kind of take into account what the family structure and what the routine is like and things like that. Because
like you're a working mom, you're a stay-at-home mom. That makes a difference. Like it's doable for both, but you have to have like different expectations of
and every kid's different, every situation's different. And that's why like it's hard because when you ask for advice, sometimes it's usually just blanketed and people give you advice from a blanketed idea and they forget that it's not the same. No, my kids aren't the same as your kids. Your kids aren't the same.
Right.
Like, it's got to be tailored differently.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm meeting later today with twin mom.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, okay, boy, girl, twin, like what now? And that's a whole different ballgame, like you can.
What do you do in that situation?
With twins, like you can either start them together or if you have one that you suspect might pick up quickly, start with one. My really good friend right now, she has 4 kids. Her youngest are twins and she's potty training the older one, like the middle. And I told her, I'm like, you need reinforcements. Like you've got a lot on your plate and it's okay to say like, I can't do that all. Like,
you need someone else to come in and help. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But not everyone has that. So then you have to work around that and just be.
Yeah. That's that's the thing. Again, that's another thing. There's so many factors that go into all of this. Is how much support do you have? What access do you have? What time do you have? Like all of that.
What does your daycare or preschool expect? Some are like pull-ups until they're completely like golden. I'm like, my own kid was not golden after a week. Like we couldn't have been.
Yeah. Well, and that was something we struggled with my son's preschool recently was, like I said, he gets distracted. So he was having accidents. He had just started a new preschool. He would be outside. So he wouldn't tell the teacher.
So fun. Yeah.
And I would come and I always bring a pair of pants and a change of undies for him because he's 3. So I'm like, you never know. Heck, I've peed my pants and I'm an adult. So you never know.
Well, I've had 3 kids. Yeah. I pee my pants.
So I no shame there, but we had a few accidents and they were like, we just recommend that you just bring him in a pull up. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I was like, I'm not doing it. I was like, he is 98% there. And I said, in one, they had like a small class ratio. He had like 4 other kids in class. It's a small little like private nursery school. And I was like, I'm going to just get a timer. I was like, I'll get him one of those potty watches. It'll go off every 10 minutes. And just, if someone can just bring him to the potty, he will go. I was like, he just needs.
We'll be back after a quick break. Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcast.
That reminder,
because he's a little boy who likes to play in the dirt and doesn't want anyone to bother him.
Or a lot of times in preschool, they don't want to like lose their place in line or lose their toy. They don't like, if I leave, someone's going to take this dump truck. I'm not leaving.
Yeah, that's him. So he's got that all down. My daughter thankfully got that. And even nighttime. So that's another thing I want to ask, because I know that was a big thing is about nighttime. And I've had that question put in on me. I know it's more, nighttime's got to be a developmental thing. Isn't that a developmental thing?
This is what I've noticed. So my oldest son, it took him forever to get like solid potty trained. Like he did not get the pooping down for months.
Yeah.
And we had to do the like nighttime wake up thing for him, which worked well, but it took a while.
Yeah.
My middle and last, they by like month 3, I would say were like pretty accident free, didn't have accidents. And then they naturally started staying dry at night.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, let's take the diaper off. Like we started with nap and they did okay. Then we took the diaper off at nighttime and I'm like, we'll try the nighttime wake up. And they both like didn't need it. It was like almost like, whoa, that just happened. So
that was how my daughter was.
It has to do. Yeah. Daytime gets like pretty under wraps.
Okay.
And then there is like all this study about a hormone that like stops your body from making urine at night.
Yeah.
And some people say, oh, that doesn't develop until at least age 8. I'm like, I don't want my kid peeing his bed till 8 years old.
No.
So if I can do the nighttime wake up because they need a little help, I'll do that. But also like just keep an eye on if they start saying dry, then take off that diaper.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we need because that's what we're still, I mean, is
he still waking up wet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then I would say you don't need to.
Yeah. At this point, like, yeah. And even like if he falls asleep on the couch, like he'll like he doesn't really nap as much anymore. He almost needs to stop napping because he doesn't go to bed.
My God, that's my 3. I have all 3 of mine in the same room, and that is trouble. When they are tired, it's great. They just conk out. But when that 3-year-old is like wound up still, I'm like, you guys, it's 9 o'clock. We need to shut this party down. Like,
yeah, that's my son. But he's such like we're in that.
Yeah. Something going on upstairs.
Well, speaking of the devil, the potty is literally right above me. I told them, I was like, I'm in like my little basement office.
Yeah.
But I was like, do not go to the bathroom and flush the toilet because you can hear it just all like trickle down. But
hey, he's using the bathroom. That's
awesome. He's running. I can hear him. He's sprinting. But yeah, at night he definitely is. He needs to nap because he acts like a little asshole.
Yeah, but we're in that like really hard stage right now.
It's that in between.
Probably
where he gets
shouldn't.
Cranky.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh God, it's so nice having like that 2-hour.
I know, especially when I can get like the 2 kids down and I just have my daughter, and then my daughter's where she's at that age where she usually goes in her own room for like that hour and plays with her like stuffed animals. And
you are so lucky. Oh my gosh. My oldest is like, hey mom, what do you want to do? Mom, can I be over here? He like, I don't shadow. I blame myself. As a baby, I was like in his face all the time. Like, I need to be entertaining you, little 2-year-old, 2-month-old. And now to this day, it's like, I can't be in a room without him.
Oh, I love that though. That's so cute.
I mean, the bathroom. Hey mom. I'm like, just 5 minutes.
Although I wonder if it's a boy thing because I think that now that I have one, like I have 2 girls and I have a boy, and I noticed because I had a girl first and then a boy first, my girls are just different than how my son was. And he still is. Like have you ever had girl dogs versus boy? Do you have dogs at all?
Don't have dogs.
Okay.
I have 3 boys and there are no pets allowed in my house. I can't.
No, that's smart. So when I grew up, we always had a boy dog before, but we had girl dogs. Girl dogs, same thing. They acted the same way. And this sounds so terrible. Like girl dogs loved you, but they almost couldn't, like they loved you, but they wanted their independence. That's how we always noticed the girl dogs to be. Boy dogs were obsessed with you. Like our boy dogs were obsessed with you. Like they were in love with you. That is how I feel my kids are. Like the girls love me, they respect me, but they are doing their own thing. And they're not like the big cuddlers or anything like that. They're the ones that I've been, easier with certain stuff. And then my son is like stuck to me. Like he's obsessed with me. So I'm like,
so sweet. That makes me think, okay, maybe they won't move away and leave me when they get older.
I know, right?
With 3 boys, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think my oldest son is just like the most extreme extrovert. Yeah. Because it doesn't have to be me. It's just like he needs people all the time. And I'm that person most of the time. But like when we go to the park, he's like, see you, mom. I got some friends over there.
Yeah, that's why you're going to have to win over the daughter-in-law one day. That's why
that's
why mother-in-laws need to be nice to their daughters-in-law. My mom always
I'm like, please choose someone that I love. Please choose a girl that I like. I'm like, we got 3 of you. You gotta pick
gotta just do that. Yeah, no, because my mom always says that. She's like, that's the way to win your son. She's like, their daughter-in-law is going to be your way to your son. I'm like, oh,
you better pick well. Right? Pick someone I like.
All right. But I was going to say something and now I forget. Yeah. I think I was talking about nap time, but he falls asleep. I tuck a towel underneath him because he'll still wet. He'll just honk out and then go. So he needs a little time.
Got in the habit before we even took the diaper off, I was like, let's just get in the habit of putting his water bottle away like an hour before bedtime, just so it's out of sight.
Yeah.
I also posted, about bedtime tips, and someone was like, how dare you dehydrate your kid? That's child abuse. And I'm like, that's not what I said. Like, oh my God. Like
to dehydrate. These TikTok comments are insane. Well, you'll have to tell me, like, what are some of like the craziest things that are there crazy misconceptions with potty training that people have that you've heard?
So some of the myths, like boys are harder than girls, not necessarily true. Like that.
That's what I'm always hearing.
Yeah, it's not necessarily true. I literally went back and looked at all my clients this year and I'm like, it was almost 50-50 for girls versus boys. Like it's girls tend to have a lot of like holding their pee, like they're afraid to like release it.
Yeah.
Boys, a lot of it, a lot more pooping issues in boys, but it's literally 50-50. Like there's so much more that affects how they're going to do besides just their gender.
Yeah.
I posted something about pull-ups. Like I don't recommend them, but there are reasons to use it. Like there are preschools like, no, your kid has to be potty trained. Otherwise they're wearing pull-up. And someone was like, stop mom shaming. Like let someone use a pull-up if they want. I'm like, I'm not mom shaming. I'm just saying like, hey, here's some suggestions that you could try. I'm not trying to tell you like, you're bad if you do this. I'm just like trying to help out here.
Yeah.
So sometimes those comments can be
insane. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I shared once was a tip that I found was actually because my son, so what's happening with him is, like I said, he waits too long and then he leaks a little bit and then his pants get wet. So it's just in the front of him where it just gets like a dime size.
Like a quarter. I always say if it's like a quarter, it's like, oops, I have to go. And they stop it.
Yeah.
And then they can get to the bathroom. So they've got that control.
They're getting it.
It's coming.
Yeah. And the one thing that I was doing in the beginning was putting a little panty liner in the front. That way it didn't do it. And you would be
didn't
shocked.
have to like change them.
Yeah, but you'd be shocked. People were like freaked out about it because it was a feminine product. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
It's the purpose of it. Who cares? It's like no one, he doesn't even know. He just knows that it's something that's going to help keep them dry. So we don't have to go through a million things.
That's where I have to like okay, just don't look at those comments. Just ignore that one.
Frustrates you. Because
I have to tell myself like, just don't even respond to that. Like don't respond. Because one time I tried responding. I was like, Katie, stop. Like, don't even get into it.
No, it doesn't do any good.
But, yeah. Like social media, there's so many amazing things that you can get out of it, but you have to just kind of.
You have to take everything with a grain of salt on social media, especially like, you have to take a grain of salt with everything. It's amazing. I actually was talking about this the other day with my husband because I've been called bad mom for a multitude of reasons. It's amazing what people will grade you on. And I would actually love to know, I should do this in my stories. I want to know what a good mom is. Like, I really want to know what a good mom is. What's a good mom and then what's a bad mom? Because even that's hard to answer. Because I would think a bad mom would obviously be like someone that's hurting their children and someone that is, purposely neglecting their children and things like that. But then there's so many other things that we would, what if they're unintentionally hurting them? What if they don't know? Like, is that a bad mom? Like, are we?
Well, I was at the grocery store not too long ago with my 3 wild children.
Yeah.
And my boys were starting to like open up the ice. What is it? Like, where they sell ice at the end.
Oh yeah.
The front. Yeah. I was trying to check out. They were opening it. One of them tried to like climb in it. And I was like, guys, get down.
Yeah.
And as I was walking out, this lady said, I had all girls and my girls would have never done that. And as I'm walking out, I was like, oh my God. Like I literally strapped them into their car seats and I was like, don't you ever do that again. But in my head, I was like, she was totally like judging me. And maybe she was just making a comment like, ha ha ha, funny. But like, I instantly like took offense to that. Like,
oh, I would totally.
I would. I can't control my kid. Well, no, I can't control my kids half the time. They're crazy. Yeah. But it was just like, oh my God. Like
I love comments like that. I love stuff like that where I'm like, I've always said, if you can't fix something in 5 minutes or less, do not say shit. Because unless you can offer assistance, what she should have done is come over if she noticed that you were checking out and had your back turned, offering to help.
I feel like half the time now when I see someone having a tantrum in the grocery store, I just look at that mom and say, I've been there too. Like,
you're doing great.
You feel. Yeah.
It's literally, that could change so many things because what happened, like what you just said, is like when you're getting in the car and you're now frustrated at the kids. The kids are the ones that pay the price.
With me. I'm like, why didn't I just like brush that off? But I'm like, I went home and told my husband, like, oh my God, listen what you said to me.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't make for a better mom. Like the mom shaming stuff doesn't make for a better mom at all.
No.
If anything, it actually makes the mom worse off. And then the motherhood experience is even worse. And the results are worse. Again, it's not the action itself. It's the negativity that revolves around it that makes the impact. But I forget what I was going to say, what I was originally starting this conversation as.
You're talking about nighttime sleeping, and then
I don't know. Don't you love how mom brains just shut off?
Oh God, no. I told my friend, I'm like, I would love to be able to just sit down and have like one full conversation with you. But I'm so used to the kids interrupting me that it's like, my brain is like, oh, go to that. Like
you start off on something and then it completely flips a switch. But I don't even know what I was saying.
Well, I do know for nighttime training. So I say like, limit the water, just practice doing that. Like you don't have to like take the diaper off right away, but then also practice like getting a full pee out before they go to bed. Because I realized I wasn't really like making that a priority. It was like, oh, you didn't have to go. Okay. You're wearing a diaper. It doesn't matter. But then like, okay, for like a couple weeks, we're going to really work on that. And that's when he started staying dry. And I was like, I don't know if his body just kind of clicked and it worked, but it was just kind of like a routine we got into that.
Well, actually, I have a question about stuff because I know like different things when I shared about doing with my kids. So I did like a reward system with my kids. Like they would get like a Skittle or an M&M.
Even though so many people are like, don't do rewards. No. I didn't do rewards with my first. I did with my second and third. And I will say like, for me, that worked really well. It was very
well. And I think it boils down because I remember with my first, I think I asked about potty training tips at one point. And I had a friend of mine who I think she's a preschool teacher. And she was saying something like, you don't necessarily need it. Like a high five can be enough for them. And to be fair, it's actually like my daughter loved the candy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we had a little jar and she loved it. My son, even to this day, in which I have videos of it where he will do the same to me. I think that's the best part is he will now come in when I go potty and he'll be like, "Going potty."
Here's your M&M, mommy.
And well, he does high fives. He loves high fives. And that is like his thing. So I think that's where it all boils down to is you have to know your kid and what's going to like rev them up and make them excited. Like for my daughter, it was candy. With my son, praise out of the wazoo.
I always say, start with verbal praise. If you have to add candy, that's fine. Like my son used to always say afterwards, "Mommy, me proud of you." And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Aren't you proud of yourself? So like I would go to the bathroom and he goes, "Mommy, me proud of you."
That's what Spencer does. Spencer comes in, he'll like look and see, and I'll flush and be like, "Good job, great job." And I'm like, I was like,
did you ever think you were gonna like let someone watch you in the bathroom? Like my husband and I are very like, you use the bathroom and then I'll use the bathroom. I don't share the bathroom with him. Like that's just how we are.
Yeah. Same.
But then you have kids with my oldest. I was like, oh, I never did that. Like I never let him watch. And my husband's like, get out. I'm going to the bathroom. Now with my third, it's like, hey, you want to come in? Come here. Come see what I'm doing. Like,
right. Well, and that's actually a tactic because I know they did that with my daughter. And it was like, it's weird kind of like you got weird about it. I got weird at first. I was like, is this weird to do? But I was like, I needed to like almost figure it out. And I remember with her, what we did, because it was September, we let her go on our deck because it was a nice weekend. I think that's why I decided to do it was I was like, I know the weather's going to be great. It's sunny. She can be out on the deck. She can play naked.
Outside. Who cares about accidents?
Yeah. And I let her do it. And I actually let her have accidents because it was before and I needed, I don't think she realized what was happening. So by the time she had actually peed, I was like, that's pee-pee. Like that's pee-pee. Yes. And then I tried getting her on the potty right afterwards. And that's the thing I think that clicked was being like, oh, this is what's happening and this is where it goes.
That's exactly it.
Even tried showing her what I was doing.
I sit her on the potty and we sit for 20 minutes and nothing happens. It's like, well, they don't know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
Like I told so many people, I'm like, when you have an epidural, you get a catheter and then they take the catheter out and they go, okay, you need to go pee now. And you're like, it's not working. Like, I can't feel that right now. Like so many kids are like, I don't know what go pee means. Like, I know pee goes in the potty because you've been saying that for the last week, but for them to like feel the pee, that's why I say, just let them have an accent and say, you're peeing, go put it in the potty. Repeat for a couple of days. And
because they probably don't know the sensation. Like for me, we know the sensation because we know that it has to be held and it needs to be controlled. So that if you don't try to control the sensation, you don't recognize it. Until
they first have to learn like, I am peeing. This is what it feels like. And then the feeling of I have to pee. And then I can hold that pee.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think potty training is actually like, I think it's pretty cool when you get it mastered, you kind of get really proud of yourself that you can figure it out. But I think if you kind of take it from that aspect of being like, hey, this is like a process. Learning. Yeah, it's a process, but it's a learning experience for mean, both of you guys, I know for us, it's like, you just have to take it for what it is and acknowledge that it's not going to be perfect because you're learning at the same time that they are.
Yeah. And each kid will be so different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You can go into thinking like, it's going to go this way. And then your kid is like afraid to pee. Like that literally is a thing where they will hold it for like 5-6 hours dancing around, like terrified of peeing.
Well, I was afraid of pooping. My mom always likes to tell that story to everyone.
My mom tells me that as well.
Because I like pooped once, saw what came out of me.
And got scared.
And then I refused to poop where she had to give me a suppository.
Yeah.
She likes to tell everyone this story. I'm like, would you stop telling everyone this story?
Yes. My mom shares that with me too. She's like, don't worry, Katie, you were just like that. And I'm like, oh, this is not helping, Mom.
I know.
Now that I'm the mom, I'm like, you seem like you had it all together, but
I'm
losing it. Yeah.
No. Well, no. And that, is that funny? Like, I feel like the moms of like our moms, they hid shit real well because there is zero way that they didn't go through.
In hindsight, like I'm going to look back at those early years and be like, oh, those sweet newborn years.
Yeah.
But I also remember like I bawled my eyes out and I'm not a crier. Like that first year was like, torture.
Yeah.
But will I forget that? And then when my kids have kids, they're going to be like, Mom, this is so hard. I'm like, oh, you'll be fine.
I wonder because I'm trying to think right now back on like when I had my first. Like how I even felt. And it was not that long ago, but it still does become a blur. You kind of do surround yourself with the good moments where you just kind of feel
it's like childbirth. You can forget and then do it again. You're like, oh my God, wait, that's right. I have to do this again. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's the reason why we have 3 kids each. So
yes.
Are you done having kids?
We are done. Yeah. I always thought I'd have a girl. Having my second boy, I remember in the ultrasound room, I was like, wait a minute, this is my girl. Like,
what's going on?
Could you please check? The lady probably hated me. I was like, can you double check? And she's like, you bitch. I just told you it's a boy.
Yeah.
So then with my third, it was like, okay, I would like 3 kids. Like I looked at my future and I just saw more kids in our family.
Yeah.
And my husband and I were like, okay, it's probably going to be a boy. Like are we okay with that? And we were both okay, but we decided not to find out.
Okay. So that was actually probably smart on your end. I was just about to ask because and this is like a completely different side conversation, but gender disappointment is huge. I've had
so huge. And I only had like one person that I could talk to. Like I didn't even tell my husband that, I came home from the ultrasound after my second. My mom grabbed, she was watching my older son. She left and I went into the room and just like bawled my eyes out. I was like, oh my God. And then I felt guilty that this baby inside me is like, my mom hates me. Yeah. It took me a while, but I had him, a couple months went on and it was like, you bond with your kids slowly. Like I wouldn't say I instantly bonded with him. It was like a couple months. And then you're like, I would never change this. Like I absolutely love having 3 boys, but I did decide not to find out on my third because I'm like, I need to protect that
peace.
I need
you need to protect your peace. And that's
and then I said, if I deliver this baby and go through labor and he's out and it's a boy, then I'll be like, oh, phew, he's out. It wouldn't be, but I knew, I knew that it was a boy.
Yeah. My midwife said that. She was telling me about that. And she had woman had like 4 or 5 kids. And she said she told the last one, because I think it was like 4 boys or something, and or 5 boys or 4 girls or girls or whatever it was, where the last one was definitely hoped to be something. And she told him, she said, don't find out until they're out. She said, because once they're out and in your arms, you're not going to give a shit.
Yes.
She said,
and after like being in labor and being like, get this baby out of me.
You're not going to care. The moment you lay your head, your eyes on them, you're not going to care. But
so for anyone out there who has like all girls, all boys, like I can honestly say I wanted a girl so bad, but I am so happy I have my 3 boys. Like
I've had guests, we talked about this before, and I have obviously one of each, so I haven't gone through that personally, but it's a grief process. It's not disappointment, it's grief. I think that's what we need to change the wording on. It's grief and grieving over an idea, a dream. Yeah, it's a dream or an idea in your head that you had hoped would happen. And I think that, in this conversation, obviously it's not potty training, but I think that boils into the whole motherhood experience is like this
what you expect,
how your potty training experience goes might be completely different. And it's, it's weird to think that you could grieve over a potty training experience, but you kind of do. Like grief is weird. Like
it's my first experience potty training, I would say was slightly traumatic. Like, I felt like it hurt like my son's relationship. Like we were, at odds a little bit. And my husband was frustrated. I was frustrated. So it was like,
it's this idea that we have in our head of like this, everything going to plan. Like we have a plan. And I think that's the biggest tip I can give any mom. I would say it's like, stop having a plan. Start day one. The moment you find out you're pregnant, no plans.
Throw it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
no plans.
I was going to deliver my baby and then he was breech. So we had a C-section for my first. And that wasn't in the plans. And then I thought you have your baby and you're like, oh, this is blissful. I'm going to bond with him. My first year with him was like, oh my God, it was so hard.
I didn't have that love at first sight. I always talk.
Me neither.
I remember we had a traumatic delivery with my first. So I remember when she came out, they brought her immediately down to the NICU and I didn't see her. And it was kind of like in deer in headlights a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my sister, and she was wheeling me down, or I think she was wheeling me down. And I remember just kind of sitting and looking around, and I was kind of emotionless. Like I had no emotion and whatever. And then I started crying because I figured out what was going on. I was like, I don't love her. And I was like, everyone had kind of told me that I was going to love this baby that came out.
You do that skin to skin. It's like, well, I didn't do skin to skin right away.
No, I didn't either. So I was like,
sewing me up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, kind of all freaked out. And she said, you just need to see her. You just need to see her. And then of course, once I did, then it was good. And with my daughter, I think it took about a month until all of a sudden one day it like hit me like a rush of like love where I was like, but terrifying. It was almost terrifying because you're like,
and like, I'm also so tired. It hurts. So it's hard to like get past that. Like,
like, you love them, you're going to take care of them, but it's like, you just don't know if they're people. You don't know who they are.
For me, I realized it when I had to go back to work because at the time I was teaching. Yeah. So at the 4-month mark, I had to go back to work and that was torture. Like it was so hard being home with him, but the fact that I had to leave him and not have the choice to like be his mom all day, that was when I was like, no, this is not for me. Like,
no, that sucks. I tried turning to work and I even I quit. I think I was back part-time, and even part-time sucked. And it's just like so much guilt. Like we guilt ourselves, but guilt because I wasn't doing things like I could not put 100% towards work anymore.
You can't be a good mom or a good worker. Like
no. And I
expect both and you're failing at both of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's how it felt. And I was like, one is going to fall and that's not an option. The child's not an option for me. And it's not for everyone, but I couldn't figure it out to figure how I was going to figure out that balance. And so I said, screw working and staying home. But
that's why I left the classroom after the first year. I like powered through that year. I was able to do like more flexible teaching job.
Okay.
So I was able to do a lot of working from home. I worked with homeschooled students. So
nice. Okay.
A lot of it was home. When that started like creeping into my motherhood abilities, like, hey, you can't take your kid to preschool and you can't do this now because you have to do this.
Yeah.
This summer I ended up quitting.
Yeah.
I was like 17 years in education and now I'm going to become a potty training consultant.
Hey.
But it's awesome. Like I absolutely love like sitting chit-chatting with moms and like when they say, oh my God, thank you so much for like giving me answers.
Yeah.
Helping me like figure out what to do. It's like, that's what I needed 8 years ago. I wish I had that.
Yeah. Well, it's it's kind of finding like that passion, like something more, like it's something more that like, you just feel like is more of an impact. Sometimes obviously teaching is a huge impact, but you're teaching in a way that you now can make it work.
Yes.
Finding that balance.
And I felt like out of alignment with like my purpose.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I'm not able to be a mom and I'm not like helping the way I need to help.
Well, and that's the thing. It's finding the balance of like being a mom the way you want to be a mom and working the way you want to work. Because that was the struggle for me. Is like, I enjoyed what I was doing and I liked what I was doing, but I couldn't do it I couldn't give it 100. I couldn't match the energy that I was giving motherhood. And I was like, I'm going to slip. I was like, I can't do this. And it wasn't enough for me to And I didn't have the support. I feel like that's the difference too. It's like I didn't have my husband, but he's a police officer and his life is crazy and it wasn't possible. But now I'm doing this and I love this.
Yay!
So it works.
I love it. I love that you can just like reinvent yourself. And
that's the great thing.
Yeah. Like I had this moment in the fall. My son got sick at school. Okay. I got the call from school and I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll pick him up. It's not like I had to call my mom and cancel my meetings from school. It was like, yeah, I'm home and I can pick him up. And that just felt like right. Good. And I know some people are like, I have to work. Like that makes me feel complete and whole and they can manage it. For me, it was like, I need to put my kids first. Like I did not like the feeling of, hey, can someone pick up my kid from school? Or I can't get into baseball. Can you take him? It was like that. I'm supposed to be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and it's all about finding out what's going to fill that cup. So. Yay. Okay. Well, rapid fire. What's the first number one tip for potty training for anyone listening right now?
Okay. Make sure you're ready.
Okay.
Be confident. Like you're going to do it. It doesn't have to look perfect, but you're going to do it. There's help available. Okay. And just be calm about it. If there's accidents, it's okay.
All right. So confidence and calm.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I love it.
And patience. It's going to take a while. So just be patient with the process.
All right. I love it. Perfect. All right. Well, so anyone listening, I'm going to make sure to link all of Katie's information in the show notes. That way, if you want to check out her page, are you on Instagram also?
I am. Yeah. So I actually have 2 accounts. So potty training only is at It's Potty Time.
Okay.
And then just motherhood in general is Burnt Pancakes with Katie.
Okay.
And then I have a website, Burnt Pancakes, and on there you can schedule any consultations. So if you want to speak with me about potty training, we can get things going. You can go to burntpancakes.com.
Cool. I'm going to link all of that for everyone.
Awesome.
And, I'm so glad that you did this. Thank you so much.
Me too. I just like one of my passions is just talking about motherhood. Like when I was thinking about leaving my job, my husband's like, well, what do you want to do instead? Like, if you're not teaching, what are you going to do? And I was like, honestly, I'm like, I like talking to moms and I want to help them. And he's like, okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, it's crazy. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's evolved into this.
Well, because it's such a huge chunk. I think that's the same exact thing for me. Obviously, I think that's why it's such a big thing. But I think for me, the reason I get so, obviously you have to be passionate about it to pour this much into it. But I think what I want this for and what I do this for is I want this to be easier for the day that, your sons grow up and they become dads and their wives, and it's easier for the moms of the future and for my daughters when they become moms. Like I want this because I think motherhood's gotten harder and it's getting harder and harder as we keep on going because we're isolated. We are so isolated
and it's so hard to admit that it's hard and not feel like, oh, I'm complaining about it. And like, I always tell my friend, I'm like, I just want to live in like a tribe or a village where all the moms raise their kids together. And it's like, we've gotten to a place where it's like, I'm in my house and you're in your house.
Yep.
And I feel like even more so now that my kids have started school, I see my friends less and less. Like we're all so busy with our lives that it's like, where did my people go?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always say that.
I
don't have any people. Like I do. It's my mom and my sister maybe, but my sister doesn't have any kids. So it's my mom and
oh my gosh.
That's really it. So it's just, we definitely have gotten very far removed from the help and support. And it's just
mothering together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we need. And it's just, something's got to change. And we're definitely allowed to admit it's hard. I said this, I actually had a guest on yesterday and we were recording and I don't know why we aren't allowed to say it's hard. Are people really expecting it to be easy? And I said it to her and I was like, we just created a human being. Like that's not something to take light.
Oh, right.
Who is flushing the potty up there?
Someone's going again.
Gosh. But I'm gonna have to figure this office situation out. But I said to her, I was like, we just created human beings. These are people that will never roam this earth again. Like we will never roam this earth again. Like what we did was a one-off experience that will never, ever happen again. So why are we expecting that to be a simple thing? That's not simple. That is like, it's huge. That's incredible. So it should
I think
be
for
harder.
me, it was just like, I wouldn't let myself admit it was hard. I wouldn't let myself get help. It was like, I'm a woman. Like I knew all my life I was going to be a mom. This should come naturally to me. And it took till my third son before I said, I'm about to have my baby. Yes, I will take food delivery. You know, like, yes, I will do a meal train after he's born. Before I was like, no, we're fine. We've got this.
Yeah.
And it was like, you can hold my baby and I'll go take a nap. Sure. That sounds great. Like it took 3 kids before I could do that. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Same with me.
Like,
it's not easy.
I learned it. I'm good.
Yeah. It takes practice. It takes practice to accept help. I recently finally hired house help, like house cleaning every other week. Cause I'm like, I need it. I'm going insane. I have no time. I have no time to do it.
It was literally last year when I hired a babysitter other than my mom or family.
Yes,
like,
I haven't gotten there yet.
I couldn't like, oh, no one else can watch my children the way I watch them. But it's like,
and that's my goal for 2023 is to get that in there. And that's why if you're listening with Katie, she's your help with potty training. It does not need to be any harder. Right. It needs to be. Like, there's help. You can ask for help. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with you or you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes.
And a lot of times it's just a matter of like talking it through with someone and they feel like, okay, yes, I can do this. Like when you're just on your own little island, you feel isolated and like, can I just ask you, like, my kid's doing XYZ, you know, what should my steps be? And you tell them and they're like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Like that sounds doable.
Yeah. And the reason why I have a therapist, that's what she does. She's literally just.
Well, I did a sleep training course before I had my third son. So you'd think, you know, third time mom, you've got the sleep thing down. I was like, this kid, we're going to figure it out. Like we're going to get help. And that course was like gold for me. It made it validated that like I tried my best with my other ones. There were a few things I could do better, but it just made me feel like, I'm his mom and I'm the best one to get him there. And it's okay. Like it's going to be fine. Just, it's okay if you hold your baby. Like I felt like with my oldest, like I'm holding him too much. Like I can't do this, but it was like, you're fine.
Yeah. I held my third all day.
So, right. My third one, I was like, I don't even care. Like, we're going to snuggle you. And he's a great sleeper. Like, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. You're so welcome. This was so fun.
Yeah. Same. All right. See ya.
Another episode down and way more to go. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support this podcast, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share it with others and post about it on your own social media or leave a rating and review. I cannot tell you how helpful and how appreciated those things are for me. Of course, to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me over on Instagram at The Very Merry Life, over on TikTok, The Very Merry Life. And even if you wanted to check out my monthly newsletter, you can do so by subscribing over at theverymerrylife.com. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more honest, raw, real chit chat. I have some amazing moms lined up coming on and shit's going to get fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be good.